We are live 364 days a year. What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan. Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw? What's going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It's Saturday, May 10th. We are one day short of Mother's Day in America, so I want to wish a happy Mother's Day to everybody out there early, just in case I somehow forget tomorrow, especially my own mom. I love you, Mama. But I have a sweet crew hanging with me today. We've got Backlash on this Saturday. We're going to break down last night's SmackDown. All kinds of great things going on. And I have a sweet crew with me. One that was actually requested very recently by one of our guests who I'll introduce first. What is going on this fine afternoon, my friend Ignacio? How are you?
I'm doing absolutely great. It's great to be back on the show. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there for tomorrow. And man, what a SmackDown we had. I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited that our next guest is on the show with us. Go ahead and introduce him, Clark.
Absolutely, no doubt. Ignacio called for it, and he answered the bell. The man is in the finals. He's got one more week to prepare for the biggest quiz of his career. He's been on a heck of a run so far. March and April Madness here is not over yet at WR. Could very much be the king of the quiz 1 week from tomorrow, but for today, he's hanging out with us. What's going on, my friend David?
Say his name and he appears. Hello. I'm very, very excited to be here today. So much so that I'm wearing a Merry Christmas t-shirt. There's three reasons why I'm wearing a Merry Christmas t-shirt on the fine day of May the 10th. First of all, it's because my washing machine's broken, so I'm running limited on t-shirts. Number two is because I really want to confuse viewers coming back in a few months' time and going, it must be Christmas. And why is it May 10th? And also because it must be Christmas for wrestling fans, particularly Wrestling Republic fans, because we get David and Ignacio back on a podcast again. I spent a long time, my friend, and lots of disagreements over the 2 years that I've been here, and I'm excited to have many more. Let's chat SmackDown.
I can't wait, David. And sincerely, Merry Christmas. I will say your best Mick Foley impression today. Father Christmas year round. I love it. Who doesn't like that? Don't get me wrong. It took us way too long to get rid of the tree this year. That was learned from that one. We've got a few comments here out of the gates. Fernando Zayas with Happy Backlash Saturday, WR crew. What's going on, Fernando? Happy Backlash Saturday. I make beats with What's Up Wrestling YouTube, fellas. What's going on? I make beats. And then he also said, don't you Americans made me think I forgot Mother's Day when we had it in March. Yeah, no, that one threw me for a loop too. I didn't know we had different Mother's Days. I might start celebrating both. I've got a cool mom. Shout out my mom. I've done that now twice. But either way, let's get into last night's SmackDown out of the gates here. We've got Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss being teased, but not before Alexa Bliss appears as the surprise tag team partner of Zelina Vega and picks up a victory. Pretty cold line. We need to talk as the door is being shut and all of this. I'm very interested, no doubt about it, with this Alexa Charlotte stuff, especially considering the Charlotte interaction with Nick Aldis. I was tickled by that. But I also enjoyed arguably the world's shortest tag team, Alexa Bliss and Zelina Vega. They worked great together. I was stunned by that. The chemistry was off the charts. Not that I don't think both are excellent performers, but I thought the chemistry was better than I expected those two. At least that's my personal opinion on it. But David, I'm going to go to you first out of the gates here. What were your thoughts on it? And then the future of this potential Charlotte Alexa thing that was teased.
Well, it wasn't what I expected to go with, but I am quite intrigued. I mean, look, I have very little patience for Charlotte Flair, particularly over the last few months, but her doing this full kind of mental breakdown, which was fascinating, I thought, and I thought she did it very well. I mean, I was getting very frustrated with her promo, and then it seemed to flip, and she did seem to get quite frustrated at the crowd and actually play into it, which is what Charlotte needs to do. Charlotte can play off the crowd being angry at her to enhance her character when it's just her. She does sometimes have a tendency to use that crowd anger just to bury somebody else, which she couldn't do here, like, because she was on her own. But also, I do think she was smart about the way that she did it here. And although I thought the first half of her promo was pretty poor, I thought she recovered it quite well by the end in terms of using the first part of the promo to build the second part of the promo. As for Bliss, it was nice to see her back. I know it was certain annoying websites had spoiled it before the start of the show, which is a very big shame. We don't report that here. But it was still nice to see her, and she worked quite well with Zelina. I mean, I'm not the biggest Zelina Vega fan. I think she's solid in the ring. I've never particularly invested in her as a character, aside from when she's had hometown moments, say the Backlash match, ironically, in 2023, in Puerto Rico. But yeah, it was nice to see her. Chelsea played a good foil as always, and it was a solid, unremarkable, but solid match. This tease for Charlotte, I know Ben talked a lot about potentially Charlotte joining the Wyatt Six. I think there could be some mileage in that, actually. I don't think she will, but I think there is some mileage in Charlotte being encouraged to embrace the darker side of her anger, and basically, doing the Emperor Palpatine, feel your anger type thing onto Charlotte. I think is really interesting. The problem you have in that sense, I suppose, is that Wyatt Six are baby faces, they're not heels. So it feels like a very heel thing to do, to go after somebody trying to exploit their anger. But I think there is a lot in this, and as somebody that doesn't care about Charlotte Flair, especially very, very rarely as a character, in ring more so, but as a character, definitely not. I think this is a good way to kind of diversify her gimmick a little bit and stick with somebody new. And so, yeah, I'm very excited by this.
I'm really fired up the way that you broke that down, especially when it comes to Charlotte, because I'm a little bit more even keeled on the Charlotte situation than I would say. Like, I'm not necessarily bored by her, because I just respect her accomplishments, which I know you do as well. But at the same time, even when she was just Charlotte, there was always the finger quotes Flair, right? That's always been a part of her character. Yes, the music is different, but they play those same horns. They play that same song somewhere in there along the way.
Put the
She
remix
wears the
underneath it,
robes.
doesn't change the,
Yeah.
leopard doesn't change its spot.
Yes, she wears the robes, right? Like it. And this crash out situation, David, I'm intrigued by, because, like you said, there might be some mileage in the Wyatt Six idea. This would be the first time that Charlotte's really had to show true range. She's played an extreme version of herself for her entire career and done it well and successfully. There's really no debating that, right? This is something very different. And like you said, you aren't the only one that is not intrigued by the current state of Charlotte Flair's character work. Something new and different. I mean, a la Tony Storm. And
Look, she's got to change something.
Yes.
Because otherwise she's gonna. The feud with Tiffany Stratton didn't do anything for anyone, and Charlotte, whether you think she's good at that character or not, it's hit a plateau now where it's not, the heel work is not benefiting people. So she needs to put the focus on a different side of her, so the fans can see something different, anything different. Whether you love the Wyatt Six, hate the Wyatt Six, love the spooky nonsense, hate the spooky nonsense. I say spooky nonsense as endearingly, but like you've got to try something new just to get her out of this slump that she's in, where fans just don't care. Not in a fun heel way, just in a we just genuinely don't care way.
It's a lot of rinse and repeat, a lot of sameness. Not to oversimplify it, but I'm in agreement there. Now, Ignacio, obviously, I got to get your thoughts on it. The tag match, of course, but this Charlotte and Alexa thing, some still believe it's a tease for a Charlotte Alexa rivalry. I don't necessarily think that that's what we saw last night, right? I do actually agree with David that the possibility of her sort of turning or with this crash out changing character wise is the direction that we're going here. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's just what my gut says. What are your thoughts on it? And what would you do, let's say, if you had the pencil?
Well, I need Charlotte Flair against Alexa Bliss like I need a colonoscopy. I'm not a big fan of where I think they're going with Alexa Bliss. But the reason why the whole thing with Tiffany didn't work is because they tried to, at the beginning, they flip-flopped because the fans thought that they were going to be sympathetic with Charlotte coming back from her injury. They thought they were going to be Charlotte was going to be the sympathetic babyface, and Tiffany was going to be the heel. And she came back. They booed her. They had to switch roles or what have you, and that kind of threw everything off. And I didn't think their match at Mania was, I think it was subpar at best. I didn't think it was that good. The chemistry wasn't there. And that's not to say that they'll get more comfortable with each other later on. They might have bigger matches ahead of them. They're definitely going to have more matches ahead of them, but this wasn't the time or place. Look, it's like back in the day when they tried to change Flair's character. Back in WCW, Jim Herd wanted Flair to dress up like Spartacus and put an earring on him. And, Kevin Sullivan said, you don't change Babe Ruth's number. And it's just the same thing. Flair doesn't have anything problem with her character. That is her character. The character she presents on TV, that is her. That's not, she's not playing a role. It's her times 10 or whatever. And I don't think she needs to be involved in any supernatural stuff or anything like that. I don't know if that's where they're headed with Alexa Bliss. What I was more intrigued by, which nobody's really talking about, was her standoff with Jade Cargill. Now that's something I want to see. I don't want to see this mess with Alexa Bliss. She looked ridiculous standing in front of Alexa Bliss. She's like 1.5 feet taller than her. This is what I would do. I would continue with the whole nervous breakdown storyline thing, and just have her like go on a losing streak, and have her like gain because she's very fit, she's athletic, she's healthy. I mean, have her like go on a losing streak and like gain like 40 pounds or something, and like. She does so bad, she has to go back to NXT and she loses there, and they can do vignettes like with her, like in the gym, and she's eating
Frustrated.
junk food and stuff, frustrated and upset, and then like a veteran comes to help her out, like a veteran female like Gail Kim or something, or I don't know, like get your crap together and work her way back up to fighting Jade Cargill, who probably by that time would already be the champion. And I'm more intrigued with that story than what I think they're going to begin with Alexa Bliss. And we really don't know what that is.
To be totally honest, the number one thing you just said that I agree with the most, Ignacio, is the stare down with Jade. That is Ali Frazier put it on a poster type material. Those two opposite each other is just absolutely two slug. The problem is it doesn't feel like Charlotte's in the position that you would expect her to be in now. And you made another great point about I want a change. I think the supernatural idea is like too much. I almost want her to like dip her toe in the water of like Alexa might be the devil on her shoulder, and that's kind of how we work back. But long term, you made a great point about Charlotte Flair's a name brand at this stage. She is who she is. We know who she is, that resume. And so an extreme change a la like a Toni Storm or somebody like that does seem like a bit of a reach. I'm thinking something temporary, and you suggested the NXT thing in a losing streak. David made a great suggestion about like maybe a temporary following up the crash out. There's a lot of options here.
Yeah, to be clear, I take the Spartacus point. I'm not Ben talked about doing a kind of Charlotte joins the Wyatt Six like Daniel Bryan did the Wyatts. That's not what I'm particularly into. I don't need Charlotte Wyatt. I don't need any of that. When I'm advocating for Charlotte to be involved in that story, it's not because I want Charlotte to do a massive character reset. I don't need her to do that. I agree.
Right.
To some extent with what you're saying, Ignacio, and I also agree that there is a money match in Charlotte and Jade. But I also agree that you talked about putting those names on a poster. At the moment, I don't think it would sell.
No, at the moment, I agree.
At the moment,
I think you have to build it.
So I do agree with you, Ignacio, that I do think we need to see a fundamental change within her own character, not a change of who she is, but a change of environment, a change of
Or
fortunes,
attitude.
and a change of, and I think, it depends obviously on how much mileage you have with the Wyatt Six stuff generally, and how much mileage you have with that type of storytelling. And I take the point either way. But I do think that both scenarios suggested, the Alexa Bliss and the Jade Cargill one, if booked correctly and not booked with supernatural hokum nonsense, which Charlotte doesn't need. Like Charlotte doesn't suit that. But a way to explore the actual inner character of Charlotte Flair, I think, is interesting. And whether that's through
Yeah.
a losing streak, like Ignacio suggested with Jade, or with trying to, having the devil, like the carrying cross, like devil on your shoulder with Alexa. I think there's a lot in either of those ways that you can go with this character to try and get it back on track, because I do think Charlotte is talented. I do think Charlotte is, has got obviously huge potential. She's done so
Right.
much, but right now there's no reason to care about her. There's no reason to invest in her,
Well,
and people are not. So
and
that's
that's
what you need to fix.
one thing I would add, guys, and this is really interesting because we talked a little bit about, like, the Tiffany Stratton thing didn't really land for anybody. I think all three of us can agree on that, right? It just didn't. Jade opposite on the mic, I think, isn't going to take that BS, right? And it's a little different, her and Charlotte going back and forth. I'm wondering if that was a stone left unturned, and maybe that should have been it in the first place. Because Jade versus Charlotte on the microphone could be nasty, and they can hang with each other. I think, in a way, and that's not a knock on Tiffany Stratton, just stylistically, it wasn't a great matchup. It was oil and water, right? I think Jade and Charlotte could have a back and forth that is really tantalizing.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think also they kind of touched on it. They touched on it yesterday. I think Michael Cole, or I mean, not Michael Cole, but somebody made a comment that, after Jade Cargill made that snippy comment to Charlotte, like, hey, get in the back of the line or whatever, like Charlotte just kind of looked down and kind of walked away. And they made the comment that, it's the new WWE. It isn't even the WWE. It isn't even the women's division that Charlotte was a part of when she got injured. Because Jade's there and Tiffany's there, and Stephanie Vacker's making more appearances, and now they got Julia, and they can play into that role too, where Charlotte's just down and it's just not the same place it was.
What about me?
When me, Becky, and Bayley and we're on top, and Becky's in and out. They can play on the fact that Becky's in and out because she's a mother, and Bayley's thinking about leaving away, and it's just me with all these new people that I'm not familiar with, and maybe I just can't compete with anymore.
That is definitely
suggestion.
a good call. Okay, let's move on though to the U.S. title 4-way chaos. So we had a tag match with 4 guys, and one of them's definitely not in this 4-way match that we're gonna see this evening. That's all I'm saying. And that one was Solo Sikoa, and he took the loss via BFT to LA Knight. It was LA Knight and Priest against Solo and Fatu. Fatu lays everybody out. And then there's Drew McIntyre, and he does the one thing that bothers me. Pre-title match every time. I am not superstitious, but I'm just stitious enough. It bothers me. Don't touch the title before you win it. You don't touch the trophy before you win it. Stop doing that. And we're seeing it far too often. It's okay every now and again, but not to get all heated about this, because I did actually enjoy a lot of this. And I like the idea of McIntyre now planting a seed in our head that he can hang with the Samoan Werewolf. Because even that tag match didn't plant that seed in my eyes with LA Knight and Damian Priest. But when McIntyre hit that Claymore, it did. David, I'm going right to you when it comes to this one. Give me your thoughts on it. And if you'd like, because we didn't do any predictions for Backlash yet, go ahead and predict that match for us if you'd like.
I can predict it now for you. Jacob is going to win quite convincingly, I would imagine. Probably not pinning Drew. I would expect there's a nice LA Knight perfectly positioned to take that fall quite comfortably. I think this has been built pretty solidly. I think it's been built in the way that a 4-way should be built, which is 4 guys all with grievances with each other, all with a reason to want the title, or 3 guys with a reason to want the title, and Jacob Fatu, who has the title, can get it. There's been talks on our chat today about how long Jacob should hold this title for. A hell of a long time is the answer. because currently the main event scene I don't think is ready for Jacob. And I'm not saying Jacob isn't ready for the main event. I'm saying the main event scene isn't ready for Jacob. And I think there is a difference, a big difference. So I think you have Jacob win this convincingly. I do think it will be a good match. I think it'll be a very good match, actually. I think I would have liked them to have played up the Grand Slam championship thing with Drew a little bit more, just a little bit more, going into this. I think that's the interesting thing. Obviously, Drew needs the US title to win the Grand Slam. I feel for Solo because a few months ago he was obviously facing Roman Reigns on the first Raw of the year, and now he's just lost. He is the fall guy in tag matches. I think it is building the turn, but even so, I do think poor Solo. But I would like to see a little bit more from Solo Sikoa. Remember the 1 week he came back and attacked Cody? Remember that?
Yeah.
He came back, attacked Cody, and then
What happened to that?
Promptly ignored as bafflingly. But yeah, very sort of solidly built, a traditionally built four-way, the type of Backlash match that you want. Stick a bunch of good wrestlers in the ring and tell them to have a good wrestling match, and Jacob is going to win.
I am kind of I'm in full agreement on Jacob Fatu. One thing I will say, though, that I'm even more fully in agreement on is the Grand Slam aspect. I mean, a month removed, you have a Northern Irishman win the golf Grand Slam, Rory McIlroy, and now you got the potential of a Scotsman and Drew McIntyre winning the Grand Slam. Let's talk about it.
The thing is, what I would have had, it's difficult because WWE pay-per-view don't operate the way they used to, but you could put this on the pre-show. You could have an interaction between Sheamus and Drew on the pre-show to basically say, obviously Sheamus was going for the Grand Slam and ironically was cost by Drew at Mania 39, and it's kind of that sort of sins of the past coming back to bite you. Those types of things. Only a small interaction because there's a lot of thing there, but Sheamus has just come back. So yeah, I think there is a sort of mileage in that. I wish they'd have played into it. Whether they're saving it for a singles match, which I think should be by all means have the Saturday Night Main Event match be Drew and Jacob singles.
All over that.
Because I feel like LA and Damian are here to kind of make up the numbers a little bit to what the match we really want to see. But yeah, also all well done to me.
Okay, so we have 2 picks, Jacob Fatu. Really quick, rapid fire before I do an ad read here. Ignacio, who's your pick in this 4-way tonight?
Jacob. Definitely Jacob.
3 for 3. Look at us. Look at us. Just all agreeing. Okay, I'm going to make this quick for all of my friends here. First and foremost, not that one. If you haven't downloaded the Etsy app, you got to do that. Go over to the Google Play Store or the App Store, depending on what phone you got. Head over to the upcoming stream section. Just an hour after this show, I'll be doing a pre-show with Big Ant. You saw him appear on this very platform on Wednesday. It's going to be a blast. We're just going to have a good time. And the best part is, if you'd like to jump on and argue with me about Cody Rhodes or John Cena or whatever I've said that's bothered you in the past, all you need is a phone with a microphone, and you're welcome to join. You don't even have to show your face if you don't want to. And if you want to, you're welcome to do that as well. But go ahead and join. It's absolutely free. It's nothing short of delightful. But then, immediately following that, subscribe to our second channel, Wrestling Republic Undercard, for exclusive videos, clips, and more. But more importantly, even than that one, I'm going third ad read. We've got a watch along tonight. It's Ben Allison. It's Clark Taylor. It's Jordy in the bank. Shotty's going to make an appearance. We might even bring some people out of the bullpen, just rotating people in there. While you're watching Backlash, if you want to listen to a bunch of guys talk about Backlash live, we're going to do a great job of it. Please join. It's awesome. Very same YouTube channel you are watching this on if you're on the YouTube platform. From one of the other ones, I don't know exactly how to help you. I'm not the most tech-savvy guy here at WR. But let's move on to our third topic here of this fine afternoon, at least in California, that is. We discussed Jade Cargill earlier. I call this an upset. There was a lot of shenanigans. But Nia Jax, bonsai drop, picks up the victory over Jade Cargill. She will challenge for the title once again. It appears here. Ignacio, talk to me about this match and this matchup now.
It was good. I think look, they played to Jade Cargill's strengths. I think when she had her match a couple of weeks ago with Tiffany Stratton, they kind of they bumbled a couple things, a couple spots or whatever, but that's because I think Tiffany's style is different, right? She kind of likes to toss around and flip flop a little bit and, you know, do the gymnastics stuff, and that's okay. But I mean, it just didn't, that at this time at Jade Cargill's level, she doesn't know how to really work with that kind of person or match or individual. But, you know, this was a big girl match. It had a lot of power moves, and it played to both of their strengths. And, you know, it was good. I liked it. I wasn't too much of a big fan of the finish, but I think it's just too early for Jade Cargill to be in world championship matches and losing. Like, I think they kind of she still needs a little bit more build up, which they're doing a good job at. And a lot of people say they're not excited to see Tiffany and Nia, and you know, that's okay. I don't think Nia is going to be beating Tiffany in this match or anytime soon. It's just a match to get us by to build us up to what we all really want to see. And, you know, Jade Cargill and Tiffany, or, you know, eventually Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair, I would hope. But I just think, you know, that, you know, this is still a young division that they're trying to build around with Jade and Tiffany. So, including myself, I think, you know, because last night I kind of reamed the division a little bit, and I think maybe just got to have a little bit more patience. But, you know, overall, I think it was a good match. You know, I think Jade, she's going to be a superstar. She'll get there eventually, but they need to be patient with her. They need to be patient with Tiffy also. I think there's a lot of potential here, especially with what we have and coming up with NXT with Stephanie Baker and Julia and Lash Legend and, you know, other talent that are down there. I think we're going to see more of that talent moving up sooner rather than later. And, you know, we just got to be patient with this division. It's young, but it's got a lot of up and coming talent. But I don't think it's a bad idea that we start introducing some new stars.
I am with you, man. Yeah. And I thought the match was exciting in and of itself. I thought there was a lot of good things. I mean, for me, Nia Jax has been on the best run of her career, and I've repeated this over and over and over and over again for like a while now. But the dust that was sort of on Nia Jax at a certain time, where she almost couldn't do anything right, has been removed. Nia Jax has gotten a lot right over the last couple of years and deserves credit.
Yeah,
I think for sure. But I agree with you. It's new stars time. I mean, like you mentioned earlier in the show, Vaquer, Julia, like these names that there are a lot of serious contenders. I also think Jade Cargill has found a groove. You mentioned this was a power match. We don't get a ton of those. It was decently executed other than the finish. I had no issue. The chemistry was great.
Yeah, there was no mistakes, really. Nobody made a mistake. They sold well. They sold each other's moves well.
Yes.
You know, it was, you know, there was false finishes, but there wasn't a ridiculous amount. They made sense. So they did good. So I do see some light at the end of the tunnel for Jade Cargill, definitely. She's going to be a star. She's going to main event WrestleMania and all these good things. And we just got to be patient, get there. And, you know, I've been very critical on the division. I'm not going back to what I'm saying, but I do think that we all need to be patient as far as, like, you know, them introducing these new stars, because, you know, Roxanne Perez is coming, and then I think Raquel Gonzalez is doing some good work and stuff. So yeah, you know, a lot of stars, a lot of interesting matchups to be coming up.
I think that is also another thing with Jade Cargill in particular, and I'm not saying you or anybody specifically, but they don't carve people out of stone that look like Jade Cargill.
No, yeah.
And so there's a level of expectation levied because she looks like a ready-made video game character product, basically, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
And I think that was a little bit almost unfair to her because she had to develop on television, which does not happen often in pro wrestling. She's now found a groove, and I'm glad to hear you say, like, positive, that you see a positive future for her, because there were certain times where I was like, man, but they don't make people like Jade Cargill like that look and sound and can embody the charisma, all of that. All she needs to do is fill some of the gaps. And we know she has the athleticism to do so. I think she's sort of done so. And we're looking for like a big run out of her, at least in my eyes, for the rest of 25 and then into 26. No doubt about it. At some stage.
And I think real quick, one thing that the division's missing is like a really, other than Charlotte, because we already explained what our feelings towards her, but I think we're missing like a really, really good heel. And I think Bianca Belair can fill that spot.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's move on to our main event of the evening. Also, tonight's main event of the evening. All of the above. The whole deal. Randy Orton in Dayton, Ohio. Not quite to St. Louis yet, but he will be in his hometown this afternoon and this evening. I love sneaky Randy. I'm going to start with what I loved. Sneaky Randy, masked Randy, and all of the above. The RKO out of nowhere, but not totally out of nowhere, but out of nowhere enough. Then I'll take it. I also loved the 06 drug test line. Just tickled me. That was like John Cena picked the lowest of hanging fruit off of the tree, and it somehow was still ripe because it made me laugh out loud. Like I was like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be laughing, but that's just funny. Like I don't care who you are, that's just funny if you know the old story and everything and Randy's history and whatnot. But I also mentioned earlier that it bugs me when people touch the title before they win it again. Randy kissing it, I think it was a great look. He stands tall to end the promo. But it's probably the last time this weekend that he stands tall outside of when he does the pose on the turnbuckle pre-match. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. Is there any shot in the world that Randy wins this home game in St. Louis, Ignacio? Talking about that and then last night's promo as well for the go home segment.
Oh man, the promo was tremendous. It was really, really good. I love what Cena's doing right now. I think he's playing this character picture perfect, man. I mean, he's really, really good. It shows how much of a professional he is. And he didn't change anything. All he did was change his outlook and his attitude. That's it. Didn't change the theme song, didn't change his gear, nothing. It's just him and his mic work and his genius, and that's it. And of course, whoever's helping him write the stuff or whatever. I really like what he's doing, and it's just crazy. I don't think some people understand how crazy this is, like the philosophy and the psychology of it. Like everybody's looking and eventually it's going to get to a point where I don't know, like Triple H or who they can get involved in this storyline where everybody's going to be scrounging to look for the hero that can beat and take the title away from John Cena. Let me repeat myself. The hero to take the title away from John Cena, because John Cena was the baby face, whether you liked him or you don't like him. He was the milquetoast face of the company, baby face, kissed the babies, did the Make-A-Wish, etc. And now he's like the villain who says he's going to retire and take the history of the WWE title with him. And we got to find the hero to take it back. That's the crazy psychology philosophy of this storyline that fascinates me. It's really, really, really good. And they're doing a good job with it. And no, I don't think Randy Orton's going to be the one to take the title away from tonight. But the question is, how are they going to go about it? Is Cena going to beat him clean? There's going to be some shenanigans. What are they going to do to help Cena tonight? Or how is Cena going to retain the title tonight? That's going to be the big question.
I'm telling you what, though, because I agree. But if it's Travis Scott and they play Fiend and he does his Undertaker walk all the way down that ramp in St. Louis, and if he stiffs Randy Orton is going to punch that man so hard in the face. That is not a receipt he'll wait on. This will not be the Cody Rhodes situation. I'm praying that this is not the plan. Because if he hauls off and hits Randy Orton, Randy's going to hit him back. I mean, No matter what, I feel like that's my biggest fear. But I do believe, like you said, it's going to be shenanigans. Because there's another factor at play here, Ignacio, that bugs me. We have had this discussion numerous times over the years. Who's Cena's greatest rival, right? People will name Edge, Punk, Orton, right? I think those are the three that you would go with, right?
Yeah.
If this is the final stanza, doesn't it just feel like Cena got to be a heel just to win the whole rivalry? After all these years, it's just like, oh, Cena got to be the heel, and then he gets the candy at the right. It's like he went to the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, skipped the tour, and he just gets to go to the gift shop. It just that part of it bothers me in some ways. I wish there was a scenario where Orton could win this title, and maybe they even hot potatoed it. I don't think that would land, not in 2025.
No,
but in my child brain,
I mean, yeah,
like that just seems fun.
Clark,
now, David, I know you're chomping at I know you're chomping at the bit for this. Talk to me about the promo last night. Talk to me about the match tonight. Any chance we're seeing the upset? I've never seen a home team feel like such an underdog. Have you?
Oh, it's WWE. The home team are always the underdog. They never bleed and win. They never win where they go. So most people won't know this. For an article that is coming out very, very soon for Wrestling Republic, I've watched every single John Cena versus Randy Orton match, one-on-one match that they've ever had, all 22 of them. And so after doing that over the last few weeks, I never want to see them wrestle again. But nonetheless, I'm going to watch them wrestle again. So I'll talk quickly on the promo, and then I'll talk on the match tonight. So I thought the promo was actually very good from Cena. I've seen a lot of complaints online about the way that Cena cuts promos. He's got this very theatrical delivery, which is oppositional in fairness to what he did when he started. He was a lot more dour. Now he's kind of gaining more of this sort of flamboyance. I kind of like the fact that he's a massive, he's kind of wrestling supervillain right now. Does it all match up? No. Does all of what you say make sense? No. Do I believe that John Cena in any capacity would talk about how the legends that Randy Orton punted didn't mean anything to the industry? No. I don't believe Cena would say that as a character, so I didn't like that line. Whether he's a delusional heel or not, I don't feel like that to me is not in keeping with John Cena. That's in keeping with villain number 45 from a checklist. But most of what he said I thought was brilliant. I do enjoy the theatricality of his performances. I enjoyed the fake out as well. Ahead of the match tonight, I've actually put together a little list of spots that I expect that they will do. Obviously, it's hard to tell because the dynamics are switched, and we haven't seen a heel John Cena versus face Randy Orton match, a one-on-one match, since OVW, when it was Randy Orton versus the Prototype. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But I do have a small list of spots that I think they do in every single Randy Orton match. I kind of have the definitive Cena Orton match that I think I've nailed down after 22 of them. So both men will probably trade headlocks. They normally do. They'll go off the ropes and somebody will hit a shoulder block. It's always one of the two for a stand-up and a square-off. Then Cena or Orton will hit some punches. Normally Cena will hit some punches with a fisherman suplex into a bulldog for a 1 count, or maybe Orton will block it and Cena will fall over. Cena will typically go for a shoulder block and Orton will move. Cena will fly away and then Orton will drop him into the announce table. They do that spot every single time. Cena will go for an AA at some point. They'll be counted into a DDT, or Orton will get out of it and stun him on the ropes, because they do that in every match that they've ever done. Orton will cinch in those headlocks on the floor. I imagine this time it'll be Cena cinching in those headlocks on the floor. Orton will stomp away on Cena. Probably Cena will stomp away on Orton. It'll get really boring. Cena will hit the comeback, then Orton will kick him on the 5-knuckle shuffle and come back with a drop kick and a comeback of his own. Cena will try the AA, he'll kick the ref. Both men will trade comebacks. There'll be an AA and a kick out, an RKO and a kick out. Cena will probably Orton will probably do a draping DDT off the top rope, and the announcers will act like they've never seen it before when they've seen it in 5 of the last 6 John Cena versus Randy Orton matches. There'll be probably what else might there be? Probably a successful 5-knuckle shuffle, probably into a belt shot and an AA for the win. I've seen so many of these matches. And I guarantee you, while a lot of those spots probably won't happen because of the face heel dynamic, guarantee you will get quite a few. And it'll be a case of me sitting there going, "That's for Unforgiven 07.
I'm
That's
telling
No Way
you
Out
right now,
2008."
what you just did, David, was gorgeous, and I Make Beats is exactly right. He goes, "Did you produce this match?" 5 stars. And he goes, "I thought WR was no spoilers. No need to watch the main event."
That's all it's going to be. I guarantee
Relatively
you, we will
confident
not.
you called it.
We will not. I'm going to put it out there now. We will not see in this match a single move that either Orton or Cena has not done in one of their 22 matches before.
No,
Not one single move. And
do
if
you
there
think
is,
we get a top rope leg drop like against Punk?
no casino will be able to do it anymore. In the same
I
way
know.
that
That's
I
why
don't
I
think
said it.
I actually the spot they do the most often where Orton ducks out of the way of the shoulder charge, I don't think
Right.
Cena can land like that anymore. So I actually think it's going to be a slower, lesser match of those. But if I see a single move in this match that John Cena and Randy Orton did not do in any of their previous 22 matches, I will do my own cover of a wrestling theme song decided by our audience live on this channel. I will do that. If there is a single move that has not been done, not that a different guy does it, that a single move that has not been done in those previous 22 matches. That is my challenge to them tonight. Do something different.
Genuinely, David, I love so much what you broke down. Like, it's off the charts. The only caveat is I do one thing I would love to see, because he hasn't really done it yet, is after all these years of 5 moves of doom, what if he just hits 4 of 5 out of the gates? Just one short of the AA.
Yeah.
That to open the match, just to change it stylistically, because you mentioned it is the first time it's role reversal time, right?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. One of the
That
things
would
I'm
be
going to
fascinating to me.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to talk about in my list that's coming out is that a Hell in a Cell 2014, they do try and do some experiments with the formula. At one point, Cena goes for a shoulder tackle and is caught with an AA out of the blue, and suddenly it's like, oh, I saw caught with an RKO sorry, out of the blue, and it's like, oh, okay, this is
That was
interesting.
different.
And then they go back to the same. Then they go back to the same formula. They never stick with new things for long enough. So I'm curious to see what they do tonight. I think the change in dynamics will be interesting, but my concern is that it's just going to be the other 22 matches that we've seen, but slower. And if you've sat through those 22 matches like I've sat through those 22 matches, you can't get much slower than what I've already seen. So I'm hoping for the best, fearing the worst, but I do love John Cena's heel character right now, and I love the fake outs for the RKOs.
I love it. And also, I will say that is going to bring us to the end of the show. It's been an awesome show today. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Check it out on the Etsy app, 2:00 pre-show, and then tune in for the live show as well. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's, of course, noon Pacific, 3:00 in the East, 8:00 in the UK, and 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Have an awesome rest of your Saturday. Enjoy Backlash. Enjoy the wrestling this weekend. Hope you had a blast. On behalf of me, Clark, Ignacio, and David, everybody at WR, we will talk to you soon. And happy Mother's Day one more time. I was going to get 3 in. Thank you so much.